On September 1, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas experienced the worst catastrophe in the history not only of this country, but this region. In the aftermath of Dorian, the question was raised whether or not the government of the Bahamas should spend almost $1 million to continue the tradition of the best of the best. The view of the leadership of the country was, we must get back to normal. We also understood that it was absolutely important to focus on those things that bound us together as a people. Sloop sailing is in the DNA of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Men and women moved between these islands for many years on sloops. It was a means of trade and later became the centerpiece of what should rightfully be the national sport of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And we felt it was important to stand on an important tradition that has stood for decades and represented a means of developing numerous communities all the way from Maikal to Grand Bahama and Bimini. And so we made the decision that what was started under the Honorable Alfred Gray continued under the Honorable Renwood Wells, that it ought to happen once again. And so tonight, we're coming to the close of the 4th annual Best of the Best Regatta. And so I wish to salute the main players who made this happen. The boat owners and skippers, the athletes, the sailors from throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, their families who make the sacrifice along with them. It is these men and women that have been responsible for millions of dollars being poured into community after community for the most popular sport in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that draws thousands of persons every single year to support what is a part of our DNA in this country. And so tonight, I want to thank all of the sailors. I want to thank all of the sponsors, all of the persons who've made this possible. Parliamentary colleagues, government officials, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the sponsors who continue to play a pivotal role in pouring resources into each of these teams that have appeared here over the last few days. Montague has been the site for 2 incredible groups of sailors. The Star League has been very important to the Bahamas. The Star Sailors League have come to the Bahamas. I believe this is now their 7th year. The best sailors from around the world, Olympic medalists, World Championship medalists, sail in Montague shore along with Bahamian sailors who, not too far away, demonstrate that we could compete with the best from around the world. So Montague has been a special place over these last 12 months. We had the opportunity to welcome young people in the Opti National, young people from throughout the world who competed right here in the Bahamas. Sloop sailing represent the potential for revenue generation for Bahamians in the areas of boat building, sail making. We believe that these sloop sailors, these folks who make regatta happen, can create franchises when they partner with corporate communities who recognize that they are not men and women with handout for sponsorship. They are men and women with an enterprise that you ought to invest in as business partners. They can help your brand to develop. And so tonight, I want to encourage the corporate community. Let us grow this important event and tradition to new levels. We have introduced a number of innovations over the last 2 years. Bahamians can now, throughout the length and breadth of the Bahamas, see regattas televised live with professional commentators. We are stepping up our game. We ask Bahamians to appreciate the fact, when you look in the mirror, that Bahamian people are as talented as anyone else, anywhere else in the world. But we can't just sing it, as we say in Junkanoo, we have to bring it. It means that we must put our money where our mouths are and to support these incredible athletes who compete in Opti as young people in the E-class, all the way to senior citizens. And so tonight, as we bring this ceremony to a close, we want to recognize the likes of Chris Roll. We have a 15-year-old who made it to the finals this year in the best of the best regatta. We want to celebrate him. We want to celebrate Will Perotti, two persons from Exuma who demonstrate that age ain't nothing but a number. They represent the best of our young people. They represent the best of you and I that we have poured into them. And to the extent that we can get more of our young people to take their productive time and put it into activities that can be transformative for them, their families, and the communities that they belong to, we would be on the road to transforming this country into the best little country on the globe. And so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to embrace our culture. You've seen over the last 2 days the growth in this event. You've seen the best talent on the waters, and on this stage, you've seen the most incredible cultural artists in this region. We've got to support them. You can't afford to continue to pay your money to every concert that comes from overseas, and then when you want to come to Regatta and see our artists for free and don't buy their albums and don't pay for their private concerts. We have got to support our people. We are as talented as anyone else, anywhere else in the world. And remember, that scripture that we used to live by in 2018 and up to this point in 2019, you know that scripture that all good and perfect gifts come from abroad. That's a scripture we have to leave in 2019. And so as we are about to give out our trophies, tonight I want you for a moment, in all the revelry, in all the enjoyment that you're having, to pause for a moment and consider that over the course of the last several months, we have lost more than 70 persons confirmed dead, more than 200 persons missing. But tonight, you'll slow down on all the testing and the microphones right now. But tonight, we are here. We are a resilient people. We have the ability to go through adversity and to come back and stand strong as a people. We have sailors who are here, who've gone through personal tragedies. Many of them from Long Island who lost their homes in the past. Some of them are still rebuilding. There are some sailors who have owned some vessels, who've lost friends and relatives. But they put on a show for the rest of the country to demonstrate that we have an indomitable spirit as a people. And we have made it back from tragedy after tragedy. Dorian will be no different. But if we are to rebuild, we have to do it together as a people. There are no colors more important in this country than the colors of our flag. And the only way we have the ability to rebuild this country, to celebrate traditions like regatta, is to decide that we are going to turn to each other instead of on each other. To decide that we're going to rebuild this country, PLPs, F&Ms, and DNAs, working hand in hand to rebuild Abaco, to rebuild Grand Bahama, to rebuild Ragged Island. We have the ability to do it. Tribalism has not served us well in this country. And we have to decide tonight that as we celebrate our cultural artists, as we celebrate with the sailors who've excelled over these last few days, that in the privacy of our minds when we go back home, we are going to reflect on what is important in building the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It is my honor to have had this opportunity to preside over these events based on the work of an incredible team led by our Permanent Secretary, Barry Wilmot, and so many others. The Commonwealth disregard. It has been my distinct honor, but nothing would give me greater pleasure than to know we leave these grounds with a renewed commitment to build an incredible country where we turn to each other instead of on each other. God bless you, and it is my pleasure to declare these ceremonies, these regattas, officially closed.